First tonight, tributes are being paid to a Sunderland primary school teacher who was found stabbed to death in the early hours of Tuesday morning. 39-year-old Julie Parkin's body was found at a house on Kirkwall Close in the Castletown area of the city. A 35-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder.
On the evening of the 27th of June 2017, Julie Parkin was sitting in the living room of her home in Castletown, Sunderland, feeling a mix of emotions from anger to sadness to disgust and to confusion after having just made a discovery that she knew would change the lives of her and her family forever. Suddenly, she heard the familiar sound of her husband, Adam Parkin, returning home from work, and with a deep-seated feeling of nervousness in the pit of her stomach, she knew that she had to confront him about what she had just uncovered. Walking towards him as he came through the door, she told him about the discovery she had made earlier that day. And this is the moment that hers and her family's lives would take a devastating turn. This is the story of Julie Parkin, a Sunderland-born schoolteacher whose discovery of her husband's disgusting secret led to her brutal death. Hello and welcome to the Diary of Madmen and Monsters, where we talk about the mad men, women and monsters that inhabit our society, covering well-known and not so well-known cases across the UK and beyond. And if you run on caffeine, true crime and swear words, then you're in the right place and you're going to fit in well. Now, let's get ready because it's time for more true crime. On the evening of the 27th of June 2017, Adam Parkin returned home from work, only to be confronted by his partner, immediately placing him on the back foot, after she had made a discovery about him so disgusting that she couldn't hold it in any longer. Reeling from the shock of realising that his sordid secret was now going to be out in the open for all to see, he could see that his seemingly idyllic life had just begun to break down in front of him. Scrambling around in his head for answers, he decided that the only real thing he could do to try and stop this secret from escaping into the wider world was to murder his wife in cold blood. So, let's start at the beginning and watch as this truly deplorable tale unfolds. Julie Parkin was a much-loved 39-year-old mother, daughter and primary school teacher who was described as being like a ray of sunshine, who came across as a confident, friendly and happy person. The mother of two children, it was said that Julie adored her kids and in turn they adored her back, with Julie's family mentioning how loving and caring Julie was as a mother, as well as how much she doted on them, filling their lives with the love and kindness that any good mother does. Julie had grown up in the Sunderland area of the North East and had worked at EE, a call centre in the Doxford Park area of Sunderland, before gaining employment at West Bolden Primary School in South Tyneside, teaching Year 3 and 4 children, where she was valued as a genuine, kind and happy person who was loved by colleagues and pupils alike. Miss Parkin was seemingly enjoying a happy and fulfilling life, with neighbours and colleagues commenting how Julie and her husband Adam looked to have a happy marriage, mentioning how they would see them holding hands together as they walked down the street. Little did they know, however, this couldn't be further from the truth. Julie's husband, Adam Parkin, had moved to the northeast from Nottingham after he and Julie had met and begun a relationship. This led to the pair getting engaged and eventually married in 2008 and deciding to settle in the Castletown area of Sunderland, close to Julie's family and friends and around a 10 to 15 minute drive away from her work in West Bolden, South Tyneside. Although there isn't much information about Adam Parkin widely reported, it is known that he worked as a manager for the Crown Prosecution Service and that he was said to have been an insecure and controlling husband, with information coming to light that he was often cold and distant with Julie, making her feel unloved and unsure as to whether it was worth carrying on fighting for the marriage. Julie's workmates described several scenarios where Adam's coercive control was on full display, mentioning multiple occasions when Julie would be socialising with friends, with Adam demanding that he should be the one to pick her up and bring her home, with the pair then arranging a time for him to do so, only for him to show up an hour early, desperate to separate Julie from her friends and get her home to himself. Another friend also mentioned that Julie had discussed how work had been putting a strain on the marriage, leading to arguments with Parkin, and that she had even thought about leaving work to regain some semblance of work-life balance, and that Adam had banned her from doing any work-related activity at all after 7 p.m. On another occasion, it was mentioned how one of Julie's colleagues received a text message from Julie's phone, saying words to the effect of, "I have a wonderful husband," with it later coming to light that Adam had been the one to send the message and had tried to pass it off as a joke. On the surface, however, and to most of the people involved in the day-to-day life of the couple, Julie and Adam had what seemed like a normal, happy marriage, which made what happened next even more unbelievable. On the afternoon of the 27th of June 2017, Julie had accessed her husband Adam's computer for some reason. Details are sparse as to why Julie had decided to look on or use his computer that day, and we are unsure as to whether she had some prior suspicions that caused her to go in search of a specific item, or whether it was simply down to the fact that she had needed to use a computer for other reasons. Whatever the cause, Julie had decided to have a look at her husband's computer and would go on to find something truly harrowing when she did. Confusion, anger and disgust are all emotions that we can well believe Julie would have felt upon making the discovery she made. Alongside, we imagine, a multitude of questions entering her head. Where has he gotten this from? When did he do this? Why would he do this? How could I not have seen this in the man that I married? And of course, the ultimate question, what am I going to do now that I have found out his shameful and immoral secret? And it seems that Julie had made up her mind immediately, deciding that she simply had to confront him about the sordid secret he had been keeping, to find out what led him to make the decision that was about to ruin his life. And so, Julie decided to wait until Adam returned home from work and then confront him with the revelation she had uncovered, to try and figure out the answer to the thousands of questions that were no doubt running through her head. Later that evening, as we could imagine, Julie would have been sitting, mulling over the conversation she was about to have with her husband, nervously anticipating his answers and wondering what was going to happen once it all came out to friends and family. Adam Parkin was making his way home from London after a work trip, arriving back at his front door late in the evening, expecting to be met by his loving and caring wife, and hoping, we can imagine, to de-stress after a long day of travelling. But upon opening the door and entering his home, we know he was met by the consequences of his own disgusting actions, as his wife, Julie, approached him and confronted him, describing how she had discovered his heinous secret and that things were now going to change. And that evil, disgusting secret was that whilst looking through his computer, she had uncovered his stash of child porn, as it turned out that Adam had downloaded sordid imagery and videos of children. Upon hearing that his secret was now out in the open, Adam's life suddenly took a nosedive in front of him. This was something he had not wanted the world to know, certainly not his wife and family, and so he was devastated that his evil secret was now known by those close to him. And so, in what is believed to be an attempt to discuss things further away from other members of the household, Adam and Julie made the decision to leave their home and go for a drive in their car to speak about things in more detail. And after doing so, at 11:54 p.m, a neighbour's CCTV captured the pair arriving back at the home. Once back inside of the home, Julie, probably still reeling from the conversation that the pair had just had, went inside and sat on the sofa in the living room. At the same time, Adam had gone upstairs to pack a bag of clothing and items to take with him after the pair had agreed to separate. As he did, something inside of him snapped, and whether it was from the thought that his life as he knew it was now over, the shame that he felt knowing that his wife now knew what a monster he truly was, or whether this was his way of trying to silence the people who knew about his heinous crimes, we really do not know. But what we do know is that Adam made his way into the family kitchen, picked up a knife with a 20-inch blade and committed a horrendous attack on his wife. Walking into the living room of their home where Julie sat unsuspecting, he launched a brutal and devious attack, thrusting the knife into Julie's body, head and neck as his murderous onslaught began. Julie, whose body later showed signs of struggle, tried to fight off the attack, grabbing the blade with her hands, hoping in vain to wrestle the knife from his grip. But unfortunately, she could not gain control of the knife, leaving Adam to plunge the blade into her body over and over again, with a post-mortem finding that Julie had suffered a total of 23 wounds, plus multiple slashes to her body, and that the attack had been so severe the tip of the knife had been snapped off and was left embedded in her skull. Once the struggle was over and Adam had achieved his murderous objective, he dragged Julie's lifeless body into the kitchen, where he left her lying face down on the kitchen floor. It is also understood that at some point after attacking Julie, he had also attempted to murder another person in the household. But the details of said attack and the identity of said person have been kept anonymous to respect the wishes of the family and uphold the victim's right to anonymity. What we do know about the case is that the victim was said to have commented in a victim impact statement during the trial, "I was forced to fight for my life." Upon moving Julie's body into the kitchen, it can only be assumed that a sudden pang of guilt over the evil attack he had just committed shot through his mind, causing him to flee from the house, jump into his Mazda car and head towards Southwick Police Station, a 5 to 10 minute drive away from his house, where he parked in front of the police station, ran inside, still covered in Julie's blood, and shouted out, "I have just killed my wife." Then going on to tell them, "I need the police. I have just killed my wife. I had something beautiful and I have f***ed it up." Upon taking Adam in for questioning, the police then directed emergency services towards the address at Kirkwall Close in Castletown, Sunderland. And upon reaching the scene, the police would find Julie's body lying as Adam had left her, face down in the kitchen of their home, surrounded by a pool of blood. Frantic efforts were then made to save Julie, but despite their attempts, Julie was pronounced dead at the scene soon after. Back at the police station, Adam Parkin was confessing to the murder of Julie and explaining how she had uncovered his disgusting secret, leading to him snapping and deciding to stab her to death. As he did, he said, "She was so sad when she found out what I really am. We were going to split. She said, 'Don't kill yourself,' but I should have done that. I should have killed myself. What is wrong with me? There's something wrong with me." The investigation into Julie's death and the subsequent post-mortem uncovered that Julie had died from a large amount of blood loss and an interference with breathing, with it being found that she received more than 23 stab and slash wounds, including 9 stab wounds to the neck area, 3 to her chest and 8 to her upper back, with one of the injuries being so severe the tip of the blade broke off from the knife and was left lodged in her skull. During the investigation, police also uncovered a whole host of information regarding the relationship, with it being found that Julie, whether it was known to her or not, was most probably in a controlling relationship with Adam, with her computer showing that Julie had visited various websites in the months and weeks leading up to her murder, with subject headings including "What to do if you don't feel loved in your relationship," "I don't want this kind of marriage anymore," My husband never pays me compliments, upsets me, won't change his ways. How to get things done when you are depressed. I don't understand why my husband is always so angry at me. And top 5 signs your husband is dominating and controlling. Police also spoke to friends and family of Julie, who detailed several occasions that Adam had been known to have set down rules or acted in a controlling and abusive manner towards Julie, with some of Adam's work colleagues describing how his behaviour and appearance had changed in the run-up to the murder. They said he began to look unkempt and would be absent for long periods at lunchtimes, leading the colleagues to suspect that he may have a drink problem. In a review conducted after the sentencing, it was concluded that there was strong evidence that Parkin had significant controlling tendencies in how he managed relationships, and the report says his behaviour was steadily becoming more controlling and coercive, and that this behaviour was likely to become increasingly abusive and dangerous. On June the 28th, 2017, Adam was formally charged, and on the 13th of October 2017, he pleaded guilty to the murder of his wife, attempted murder of a second person, and 3 charges of making indecent photographs of a child relating to category A, B and C videos at Newcastle Crown Court. On October 27th, 2017, Adam Parkin was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 23 years. A sexual harm prevention order is also imposed upon him. Julie's death was a devastating event that shocked her family and friends, as well as the wider community of Castletown and Sunderland. I know this to be true because I grew up not too far from where Julie's life was taken, with my mother still living in the house just along the road, and with myself at the time running a business in the very same area of this evil crime. So I know how it felt to hear about this heinous murder that happened locally, to see the effects it had on the people in our city, and hear about the wider effects this case had on the thoughts and feelings towards women's safety in domestic relationships. One of the things I remember most about Julie when it happened was that people couldn't stop talking about how much of a lovely person Julie was, a genuinely kind-hearted individual who only ever had good things to say about people. With a good friend of mine who worked with her commenting that she was wonderful, always polite, and always had good things to say, but she would always defend that of a bloke. After her death, Julie's family paid tribute to her, stating, "Julie was the best person anyone could ever meet. She was the perfect child. She was beautiful inside and out, and she brought something special to everyone she met. We are all utterly devastated. Her children are devastated. It is so tragic, and we can't ever understand why anyone would do this." At this point, as always, I want to offer my sincerest condolences to the victims, friends and family. May Julie rest in peace. And as always, I want to say thank you for watching. And if you took anything away from this case, you might also like to watch the video that is on screen now, where I share and cover 14 of the most evil murderers jailed for their evil crimes in April of 2025. And once again, thank you all for watching. And I'll see you all again in the next one, when it will once again be time for more true crime.